Justin LeBar here, Chair Shot Reality. Check us out, YouTube, WrestleZone. We are every single place you can find it. Always talking about WWE. In the world of pro wrestling, we're stemming out of WWE just a little bit here and a little bit more wide-range topic. I'm joined by independent professional wrestler and the newest member of our panel who's been with us for last month.
Oh, yeah.
The Rev.
The Rev
Rennell
has
Hunt.
spoken. Loving the congregation, man.
Here with independent professional wrestler Rennell Hunt, and Rennell, you being a pro wrestler is going to kind of play an interesting factor into this conversation. Yeah. A big topic that brought controversy was a match that took place over in New Japan Pro Wrestling between Ricochet and Will Ospreay. First off, credit to them because we're still talking about it, so they did a job there and making it go viral. They do this match part of the best of the Super Juniors tournament. Vader comes out and he starts criticizing it, basically saying it's not telling a story and saddened for where the business is going. That then prompts a swarm of wrestlers and fans to talk about this. So the basic conversation here is this match, quote unquote, ruining pro wrestling? This style.
Now, first of all, when you look at this as a wrestler, you also have to look at what are the qualifications of the match. Number one, this wasn't just an ordinary match. It wasn't just a singles match. You just go out and that's it. But there was actually a tournament that's involved in this. I say within New Japan and within this being a tournament, it was appropriate for right then. At the same time, when you look at pro wrestling in general, there are always two focuses that every wrestler knows. There is your focus and there is your style. Personally, this is coming from the Rev, but nobody else. You can never, ever get your focus and your style mixed up. If your style becomes your focus, you're never going to tell a story. What do I mean by that? Your focus. It's what do you want to do? What is the story that you want to close this book on at the end of this match? And your style is what you wrap that around. If you just focus on jumping around, doing flips, and catching a tag to cab to Tokyo, and then jumping from there, you're not doing anything. You're not giving them a suspense of unbelief.
It was a show for that's the kind of match that audience wanted, so they gave the audience some money's worth. There are movies that they are parody movies and they break the fourth wall. There are other movies that are epic biopics that have you crying. It doesn't make either movie wrong. It's just a matter of what the audience is. Now, the thing is, you don't want to combine. You don't want to have the two. You don't want to have the opening half of a movie be breaking the fourth wall down and then expect people to take it seriously at the end when you want them to cry.
Correct.
So what it comes down to for me here is that it's all about selling. At the end of the day, this is selling. Selling, if you don't sell in pro wrestling, nothing else matters. Selling is the glue that holds all the movements together to make the big picture.
Exactly.
Ospreay and Ricochet did sell some of what they did. They truly did. But then there are other points to where they ask you to suspend disbelief maybe higher than most people can. And a point I used in my Pittsburgh Trib column, about halfway through the match, a Death Valley driver from Ricochet on Ospreay on the apron.
Goodness.
Ospreay immediately pops up, head scissors him to the ground, and then they start to sell on the floor. And it's like, if that match was taking place on a wrestling show, on a card that had some more traditional style matches. When I say traditional, I mean some rest holds, a little bit slower, build up to it. Well, then if somebody did a Death Valley driver or some move similar, and somebody sold it, more traditionally, like, oh my God, my neck, it makes them look weak and credible, and not credible because Will Ospreay just jumped up over here. Point being, it's all about selling. I think these guys told a story in the place that they are, but it is something to say that, I mean, you got to watch crossing paths here, and and I think who feels effects of this are guys like John Cena and Roman Reigns.
Yes,
because in 1980s, nobody complained about Hulk Hogan having a slow match being in a bear hug with King Kong Bundy for 2 minutes. People bought into it. They wanted to see him Hulk up because that audience, that's all they knew. Now and today, this audience is able to see everything with the power of the internet and social media. So they see this. They see all this and it's athletic. It's athletic, acrobatic stuff. Then all of a sudden they get very impatient with Roman Reigns and John Cena, or anybody that does a more traditional, slower pace.
Now, in general, if I can add, Justin, the thing is, and I remember being taught this in the very first week, I should be able to get more of a pop on a headlock or anything else that's traditional than by me halfway breaking my body. And I think a lot of times what happened is, just like you said, technology has power now. A lot of the wrestlers that I talk to, a lot of wrestlers that I go to different shows and meet with, they'll say, listen, half the time you can't even end a match on a chokeslam. You can't end a match on a super kick. Now you gotta kill yourself.
Seth Rollins is a phenomenal performer. Let's say Seth Rollins is a great performer. He cuts heel promos. He does a lot of great things in the ring. He knows who he is. He's a great performer. And let's say if Seth Rollins knows 100 moves and he can do 100 moves in a match, But if Roman Reigns over here still also does his focus, his business,
Yes.
and he sells and he gets whatever over, and that match against AJ Styles is a good match. But just because Roman Reigns can accomplish his goal maybe in 30 moves and get more reaction out of 30 moves, that doesn't make him less of a wrestler. That doesn't make him any less effective than Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, might give you more things of, wow, I don't see that often.
Yeah.
And there's a value to that.
Yeah.
Go Seth Rollins. But it doesn't there's no room for fans to be ignorant and chant, you can't wrestle to Roman Reigns. That's just not appropriate. It's not stupid. It starts with one thing, come back. Eventually, at what point do we have to pull a gun out and shoot somebody for that to be what makes them sell?
The art in general is selling to me. The art in general is selling. If I get you with a super kick, if I hit you with a 450 splash, it doesn't matter. If I connect on a 450 splash and you just get up and say, hey, all right, we're going to go to the next sequence, it's not going to make any difference. I'm not going to be known as a great wrestler. It's going to look like, okay, why did I just waste my money on this?
I call them trampoline exhibitions is what I call them. At Rennell Hunt 7, at Justin LeBar. We got more coming up. Rennell and Josh are going to talk about Roman Reigns. Is Roman Reigns and all that's going on in WWE, is he losing momentum? Is he losing steam? We'll talk about it. Plus, Josh and I will wrap things up with a man they call Goldberg. Is he coming back?